Hey, everybody, welcome back to Rock Your Reinvention, the show that gives you all the tips and tricks that you need to reinvent your life by interviewing amazing women who have already been there and done that so you can learn from them. And today we have a super special guest. I'm so excited to introduce Rachel Maine. I had the opportunity to be on her podcast. Oh my gosh, probably more than a year ago now. So it's been a long time since we've seen each other, but I follow all of her stuff on Instagram and Facebook, and she's just crushing it in her business. And I knew that we needed to share her story of reinvention. So, Rachel, welcome to the show.
Yay, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and can't wait to share my story, have the opportunity, and hopefully inspire some people along the way.
Oh, I know that's going to happen for sure. And we're so even more lucky to have you here because you lost power at your house today. So you drive to your father-in-law's house. And so you're in a different area than normal. But hey, that is the life of an entrepreneur sometimes, right? Or anybody's life. Wrenches get thrown in the program.
I'm telling you, there's 845,000 people without power right now. That's what DTE reported. It's like the snowstorm of the century, they're calling it. Everything is frozen here. So yeah, my mother-in-law does Mary Kay. So this is all her setup and stuff behind me.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. Well, clearly entrepreneurship is like running in the family, the extended family. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then we'll jump into some questions.
Yeah, I know I saw all the questions that came through, so I'm like, I can give you the short version of who I am and what I do because we'll get into all the good juiciness.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, I'm Rachel Maine. I am from Rockwood, Michigan, which is about 30 minutes outside of Metro Detroit, and I'm a sex and relationship coach. Previously a sex therapist. I have a podcast, Owning Your Sexual Self. So my job essentially is talking about sex all day, every day. And it's such a wonderful day. Like never a dull moment around here.
Right? Like I remember when I was making vagina stickers for the event that I had in Miami to promote my book. And I was like, that's my job. Like I literally designed vagina stickers today. Like how cool is that?
Yeah. I agree. There's like pinch me moments that happen all the time when I get to teach a woman like how to give a better blowjob or how to experience orgasm for the first time or how to bring up using sex toys in the bedroom with her partner, right? Like this is my job. Like this is like people pay me to help them do these things, which is incredible.
Yeah, but it wasn't always that way. So you actually started out in research at your local VA hospital. So what was the moment that you were like, okay, enough is enough. I need to reinvent my life?
Yeah, it's so interesting too to even think back. It truly feels like a past life to me now. I can't even imagine working in a 9 to 5 corporate setting anymore. Just it's insane. So yeah, I just was kind of doing what society told me I was supposed to do is where it really comes down to. I went to school, graduated high school, got my bachelor's, got my master's really quick. I had my master's degree by the age of 22, right?
Wow.
So I'm way ahead of the game. Yeah, high functioning anxiety overachiever over here. But yeah, and so I got a job in healthcare, which then through networking and whatnot led me this job in research, and it was not sex related at all. I was with cardiac arrest survivors. I was dealing with suicidal veterans. I was dealing with opioid abuse, alcohol abuse. Pretty much everything except for sex. And I previously, when I was working as an intern, I worked with survivors of sexual assault. And so for me, that experience was kind of seeing sex more so in the like quote unquote negative light, but like the bad effects of sex and sexuality. And so it slightly put a bad taste in my mouth. But then I had been attending, Pure Romance parties. Pure Romance is the company that I feel like kind of really got my journey started with this. And when I started doing those parties and we do private ordering for women, I was still working full time at the VA when I had this job. In fact, for 2 years, I did both things. I would go work, my 9 to 5. Well, actually, I ended up negotiating. I was like, look, this business thing is kind of taken off. I'm going to only need to be able to work 4 days here. Can I do 4 10s? So I negotiated my schedule a little bit, which is crazy to do with a government job in the first place.
Right.
So
But
yeah,
it can be done. Proof that it can be done.
be done, right? Answer is always no unless you ask, is what I kind of, one of the things I live by. And so yeah, I'd be working all day at the VA and going home, like going from work right to a pure romance party, educating women around sexual health and wellness, having the time of my life. I mean, these parties are fun, they're educational. And then in the shopping room, it's confidential. Women just like unleashing all their sexual questions and their needs. And that's, that's when I was like, you know what, I have a gift. I do something right, something well, that people feel comfortable enough to talk to me about this stuff. And yeah, so then that led me going back to getting that sex therapy, sex education certificate. And yeah, I know there's more questions coming that will kind of get,
Yeah.
yep, but that's it.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's so important because what you're illustrating is not like you woke up on day one and you were like, this is what I want to do. And these are all the changes I need to make. Like it was almost like you explored it. You're like, let me just try doing these pure romance parties. And then you're like, oh, wow. Okay. This then led you into coaching. And so I want women to take a little bit of pressure off of themselves to be like, I need all the answers today because you don't.
Yeah.
It's about exploring and trusting yourself to take steps in a direction that feels good to you.
Yeah. And I want to add too, women's intuition is such a real thing, right? If we get that feeling, we get that pull, that thing in our stomach, or maybe even your heart center. And it's just like, something is not right. Something's not right. And not always can we put our finger right on it. But for me, it was, eventually the business started ramping up. I started building a team, and eventually my income, I was surpassing my income doing these parties and building this team than I was making at, my full-time job. And so there came that time where I just asked myself, I'm like, and then I was coming to the point where I was driving to work, crying on my way to work, like just miserable, because I knew there was other sex research studies around sex work, but they weren't hiring. They weren't really, like, they still didn't feel aligned with what I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, being your own boss, I mean, that had a huge part of it. With Pure Romance, I got to do what I wanted, work when I wanted, partied when I wanted, had fun, didn't have anybody telling me what to do. But it was like leaving a full-time government paid job, full benefits,
Oh,
retirement,
yeah.
the whole thing, to go and basically sell vibrators and talk about sex full time. Like, who fucking does that? I was sorry.
I don't know. And that's a great question. Well, you do. And we love that you do it. But like, so tell me, how did your family and friends react? Because I'm sure, I mean, I'm guessing there were mixed emotions. I just know from launching my own book and telling people I was writing a book called The Ins and Outs of My Vagina. I mean, I've seen all the faces, all the reactions. So, like, what did they say?
Yeah. So I feel like I kind of slow played them a little bit into it, because when I first started doing the pure romance parties, right, that's when I got those first initial reactions, like, oh, what is it that you're doing exactly?
Right.
What are these products? And so then, but people saw my success. My dad, I would talk to him after parties or the next day after a weekend of parties, and he'd be like, you made how much money? Like, you have how many team members now? Like, what is happening? I'm like, I don't know, Dad. Like, it's just working. I'm having so much fun. Like, I'm meeting new people. I'm helping women. Like, I just felt so lit up. And so when it came to that point, and then even my boss at my other job, he's like, we're kind of becoming the side hustle for you, right? Like, this thing is kind of taking, like, honestly, yeah, I'm like, I'm pretty much just here for the insurance at this point. And yeah, so when I made that choice, it was 6 months before we were getting married. Very not the best time, but again, it was just, there was something in my gut. I just knew. And one of my things that, my quote that I like to live by is the kind of a cliche one, but she believed she could, so she did. But I'm a little bit more of a bold, edgier type of girl. So mine is, she believed she could, so she fucking did. I have that as a tattoo on my ribs now. But I just was like, this, I have to, like, failure is not an option for this point. I feel so good about this that I know I'm gonna, is it scary? Yeah, but I know in my heart this is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah.
So for the most part, they supported me, and people's opinions don't pay my bills, and this was paying my bills, so we're going for it.
Oh, I love that. We do, as women, especially, we spend so much time worried about what other people are going to think of us, and I've had to work through this myself just every time I post, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to put out this message. And I'm like, Don't worry about what people are going to think, because you're right. They're not paying your bills, right? They're not the one that has to wake up every day and go to this soul sucking job that they don't like, or do this work that doesn't light them up.
Mhm.
So kudos to you for having the guts to do it, because I think if more people had the guts to follow their dreams, the world would be a much happier place.
I agree. I totally agree.
So on your website, I love this. You talk about yourself as someone who's always on the go and has the hustle mentality. Now, I think hustle mentality can be toxic for some women, because we think it gets misconstrued as like, well, if I hustle, it's this like success at all costs, like can't stop working, will stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning and hustle, hustle, hustle. So
Mhm.
how do you balance like having a business, being a good partner, and still going after your dreams?
Yeah. And I will admittedly say that that was my life, like staying up, eat, sleep, breathe, work, like that was it. And because it becomes addicting, when you do what you love, it can
Mm,
become addicting very quickly.
sure.
Um, so the first time that happened, my husband is really kind of who brought it to my attention. Like, I'm not seeing you. You're always in your office. You're missing out on family events to work instead. So that was my first like gut check. And then I hired an assistant, so somebody that I could hand off a lot of the office stuff to. That helped me tremendously. But it's funny, when I saw that you were going to ask that question, I was like, I need to update my website, because to categorize myself now as somebody with the hustle mentality, I also feel is a past life. In the past 2 years, I have done so much work on myself to slow down, become more intentional. I've gotten really big into meditation and Reiki and breath work and reading books, like unplugging and just really, really fueling myself with self-love, not being on my phone so much. And it's hard, it is definitely hard. And did I see effects in my business from slowing down? Of course, but there's that adaption. It's like my personal life. At the end of the day, I am the most important thing here. If I'm not taking care of me, you're going to get led to burnout, which is
Yep.
what happened to me in like end of 2020, 2021. And through therapy, I actually realized that hustle mentality was actually a trauma response for me. That trauma
Ooh,
response, coming from being raised by my father, and to no fault of his, he obviously did the best he could, but I was always striving to be the best. I always was striving to make other people proud, even though I went kind of against the rails and didn't necessarily listen to their opinions or take their advice on work stuff. It was
sure.
always almost as like a sense of proving them wrong, like I'll show you that I can succeed. So yeah, that's
That resonates so much, because I think I was kind of like the black sheep of the family a little bit. Like I was always the one in the principal's office getting in trouble. Some of you in the Facebook group might be going, "What? We didn't know this about you, Karen." Like I was suspended from school, drinking, smoking, like all the kind of stuff. But like at the same time, I had this incredible need to be validated and to be the best dancer or the best whatever I was doing. I needed to be the best at it. And so I think it did trickle over into, my adult career life. It was just like work, 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 work. And when I first started the business, it was the same way. And my husband was like, he like called BS on me one day. He's like, "Dude, you said you weren't going to work Fridays, and every single Friday you are working. What is the deal?" And I'm like, "I don't know. You're right. Like, I'm not fulfilling my own promises to myself." But it was like I saw this big open window on my calendar, and I was like, "Oh, I'll just slot it in there. I'll slot it in there." Yeah. So I think it is. It's helpful, I think, for other people to hear that too, that there's not a silver bullet, right? This is a practice. This is daily habits, daily reminders. Like we're always fighting those demons, right? And making sure that they don't come back to sabotage us.
Yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
I've noticed lately, which I didn't put this in the questions, but like you've started to bring your husband into the business, which I think is so cool. How did you rope him into that?
Great question. He just has so much trust and belief in me that when I bring an idea or something to him, even if it's, this past weekend we led a couples workshop, that was his first time ever doing anything like that, let alone in person, where he's seen, in this leadership light leading people through these exercises. But I had so much confidence in him, and this is kind of my verbiage to him. I'm like, listen, these things that we're teaching people, we are doing on a daily, if not a weekly basis, right? This is second nature to us. It's like
Yeah.
explaining to somebody about the Detroit Lions football team, which you could do, at a
Blindfolded. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, it's the same thing. And so he did. He fucking crushed it. It was amazing to be able to lead, as a couple leading other couples versus just me leading couples. That's what it's generally been in the past. And I think so helpful too for them to have that masculine and male perspective
Yep.
through the work. So
Oh, well, that's so exciting. I can't wait to see how this grows between the two of you. And who knows, maybe he'll leave his job and become like, this will be your little empire, your legacy that you leave.
yeah.
So you've shared publicly many times that you don't want kids, you have no plans to have kids. And I know that there's women in this group, and actually one of them who's my client who has said to me, Karen, I don't want kids. I'm like, okay, I'm not here to tell you to have kids. Like, that's the beautiful thing about life coaching is we're looking at your value set, your beliefs, and then making sure we design a life that you love.
Mm.
But there are so many societal messages out there, and I'm sure you have heard it all, seen it all. So how do you stay true to your desires without getting caught up in this idea of happiness and fulfillment being, as having children?
Yeah, because it definitely happens. And more so, the biggest thing for me is when our friends start having kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
That like new baby fever, that new baby love, seeing them in their love bubble. That was probably the toughest when that started happening. And that was, now been several years. But generally, I mean, we'll be 30. How old will I be this year? 35. I'll be 35 this year. And so I'm just like, I cannot imagine my life with having children in it. The way that we live day to day, and for my husband too, and I think that helps, is that we were both, even when we first started dating 10 years ago, we were both just kind of like, I don't know, maybe one day, but definitely not right now. And just as time kept going on, we would just have these conversations and checking in. And even when I was going through I think I might want this, because our very, very close friends had their first child, he is kind of like the mental check, okay, it's good right now, but think of our life, and even so, I've never really had that maternal drive. Like, I've never really seen a child really, and like, I want, or people mothering, like, I want that experience in it. And some people are probably listening to this right now like, well, what a bitch, I know I've been called that, or how selfish is she that she doesn't want to bring life or give life, but there are more and more women in the world right now that are choosing not to have children. And I also think it's a blessing too, with medical field progressing and whatnot, that we can have children at later ages than we used to be able to.
Right.
But yeah, I hate when people are like, oh, you'll change your mind one day. And even saying that to me, like, when they know I'm a no, even saying like years from now, right, you're going to be old and you're going to be lonely and you're going to regret this. Well, that's on me. That's on you. So I'm so worried about it.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a great point. And it's like the word is choice, right? And we all should be allowed to make our choice and not have other people judge it and condemn us for our choice, because it's not for everybody. I mean, having children is life changing, right? And if you are not ready to accept that or want that, why would you do it? Why should you do it? So kudos to you for being able to just stay true to who you are. And I love that you're checking in. I think that's so important. So for people out there, it's just like a little more free relationship advice here. Just be checking in with your partner on these big life issues. I mean, on your finances, on your career goals. I mean, all the things, because we do sometimes change, right? And so if you start to get too far apart and you're not checking in, that's when bad things can start to happen, right? And our relationships can start to erode. But when you're being mindful, as Rachel and Danny, right? I think that's the same, are doing, right? Like, they're checking in the whole way. So you never have time to get too far apart from each other. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for people too, if there's younger people that are like me on the fence, there's also options that you have. The route that we chose to go is my husband actually donated sperm, and so we have his sperm frozen in some place somewhere here in Michigan. And then he went through it, got a vasectomy recently, but still we have that choice, if something were to change. And our where we're at right now is, by the time I turn 35, I'm a year older than him. By the time that I turn 35, which is going to be October this year, if we still haven't changed our minds, then why do we need to keep that,
Right.
And it might come October and we think, you know what, let's still keep it another year, just,
Yeah.
in case. But again, that's our choice, and we're having conversations around that. Yeah.
But I love that you're being so open about this, because I think you're going to empower a lot of other women just to be like, oh, you mean it's okay if I don't want to do that, right? And just having that permission sometimes from someone else is so helpful, because it makes it normal, right? Like let's normalize these things.
Yeah. And that you're not alone. You're not the only woman in the world that isn't sure that she wants to have kids,
Yep.
or wants to wait until she's 38 to have kids,
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, love that. Okay, so let's keep it real, because I know that having a business is not all roses and sunshine. At least I know mine isn't, so I'm sure yours isn't either.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest challenge you've had to overcome since being an entrepreneur?
Definitely. So my business started really with the product sales side of sales. And then when I started transitioning into coaching and creating programs and offering, one-on-one coaching to people, being told no to not wanting to add on a toy cleaner to your order versus being told no to this program that you have poured your heart and soul into is very different.
Yeah.
And so that, I would say, would be the biggest struggle. First off, not taking that personally, knowing that everybody is on their own journey, and also that I'm not for everybody. That is also a very real thing.
Yep.
But that is the hardest thing. But with that, you can kind of get down in your energy and down in your feels. And this was kind of me the whole last year. Again, a lot of personal work, but just a lot of change in the last year for me. So when I was launching programs or getting on sales calls and things, just my energy, I know, wasn't there. I had this in the back of my mind already, that they were going to say no, or it was going to be too much money, or some money block in my head. And so of course that showed through in my sales and in my offers. So yeah, very happy for there to be a new year.
Yes.
New year, new energy. So far 2023 is going very well, and again, looks very different. Us getting back into more in-person things has been really, really cool.
Yeah. Oh, money blocks. I think that holds back a lot of women, and it's not just even for us as entrepreneurs, but for women who want to invest in themselves. They have money blocks.
Oh yeah.
They're afraid to invest in themselves. And so I think we can all use some help in unblocking that money mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say too, as an entrepreneur, I still invest. I've invested thousands of dollars in myself, whether it be in education or training programs or certificates or retreats, right? Yeah. Thousands of dollars. So, but I tell myself, like, I know that I see those things come up for myself when I'm getting ready to click the button, like, ooh, is this the right thing? So I know my clients are going through that same thing. And so, just putting ourselves in their shoes a little bit and just being understanding of what it is that they're going through. And I'm not going anywhere. So if it's not right now, then maybe a year from now, maybe 5 years from now. So
yeah. Oh, that's such a great mindset to have. So I know that everybody watching is like, all right, Karen, just get to the meat. How can we spice up our relationships? So for anybody who's looking for like a deeper connection, more intimacy, what are like 2 tips that you would give our viewers?
Just 2?
I know. We could have done like a whole podcast or a session on this, but
yeah. Well, you mentioned, earlier we were talking about the communication and the connection. I think that is first and foremost, having those connective conversations with your partner to see where is it that you want to make changes. When you were saying that, I have a resource on my website that is free for anybody that wants to download it. It's called the Relationship Regroup, which we were talking about checking in and whatnot. That's literally what that is for. And so it's things that couples can do on a weekly or monthly basis, really whatever works for you. And it is going through all of the things, like sending love to each other, setting intention for your week, talking about the finances, scheduling a money date if you need, finance things to be covered, looking at your calendar to see where there's space in your calendar and in your days to where you can add in more intimacy and play. And the other piece I would say is when you're thinking and talking through with your partner, and let's say it's both intimacy that you want to experience, schedule some, what I like to call sexploration. Schedule some sexploration in your week. And, let's say it's Karen's week for sexploration. Then Karen, you would come to that little date and say, okay, Wednesday night at 6 p.m., like meet me in the bedroom. And you have the bedroom set up, right? You maybe have some candles going or some incense, lighting, music going, it's like that warm, welcoming, intimate space. And then Karen, you would come in and you would say, okay, so I found this game. I want to play this game and I want to explore with this game. Or I want to maybe try anal play if you're looking to get a little bit more risky. Or I got a new piece of lingerie and I want to strip for you or dance for you or role play with you.
Yeah.
Exploration can be so many things. And so I think that is such a fun thing for couples to be able to do.
I think so too. And then like everybody gets a turn to kind of be like in control and come up with some ideas. So it's not like there's no pressure on one person to always be the idea person.
Mhm.
And there's like kind of like that, oh, I actually get my chance to speak up. Like I don't have to worry about like, oh, he's always the one taking control or whatever, or she's always the one who gets her way. Like, what about me and my needs, So everybody gets a shot at that. That's so cool.
Yeah. And
I've not heard that before. And I've talked to a lot of relationship coaches and different people. This is like good, new, fresh, hot ideas. I like it.
Thank you. And there's one more thing I'd like to share. I'm being conscious of time, but another one of my favorite tools is called the 3-minute game or the touch game. If you literally YouTube 3-minute game, you can pull it up.
Okay.
But it consists of 2 questions. How do you want me to touch you for 3 minutes? And how do you want to touch me for 3 minutes? You would each ask each other that. So I'm going to ask those 2 questions. You're going to ask those 2 questions. And I wanted to share that because, as you were saying, everybody getting a turn. This is such a great tool for couples to be able to bring into their relationship, because then I'm asking for what I want, And when Danny asks me, how do you want me to touch you for 3 minutes? Or the more wild version would be, how do you want me to pleasure you for 3 minutes? I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a minute. Like, how do I want to be touched? And not how do I want to be touched that I know is going to turn him on? Like, how do I truly want to be touched right now? Maybe it's my hair to be played with. Maybe it's a back rub. Maybe I want my feet rubbed. Maybe I just want him to like lay on top of me because I need to get grounded real quick,
Yeah.
It is. And, it's always for the person that is answering the question. That's who the pleasure is for. So even when he asks, how do you want to touch me for 3 minutes? I'm going to answer in a way that I'm going to be able to give him touch in a way that turns me on or is pleasurable for me. Not necessarily what I think is going to be good for him. Is it probably going to be good for him? Yes, because my intention and my love is coming from that, because I'm excited to give that touch. So yeah, that is probably my most favorite thing for couples to be able to use.
I love that. Everyone has to go try it and then let us know how it worked out. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. You don't have to really tell us, but I would love to know if anybody's brave enough to give it a shot, because we can always use a little spicing up in the bedroom. I mean, I've been with my husband for 15 years. We dated for 9 before. It's like, we get stuck in a rut sometimes. We're like, okay, we did that position already. We did that position, like, okay, what's next? What are we going to do tonight that would be different? And sometimes slowing it down is so much hotter anyway. Like, just taking time before you get to the main event, Yeah,
for sure.
I love that. So where can people find you if they want to work with you, if they want to learn more? I mean, obviously they need to go get that free guide that you were just telling us about, but yeah, let us know where we can get you and get access to you.
Yeah, thank you. So rachelmaine.com, you see the name. So it's Maine, Maine, just like the state. rachelmaine.com has that resource, as many other free resources on there for people to download. You can find the link to my podcast there, information on any of my programs or coaching or retreats that I'm doing. So that would be the main place. And then Instagram. Instagram is my number one place to hang out. And you can find me there at the Rachel Maine. And if you like to watch funny reels and see I see my husband in action on my reels, it's a fun place to be.
Oh, there's always tons of great tips. I follow you and I always see stuff and I'm like, oh, we should try that. Or why didn't I think of that? So yeah, definitely highly recommend. Before we close out, if there's someone right now that's watching that's like, I'm done, I want to reinvent my life, I feel stuck, but I don't know how to get started, what's the one piece of advice that you would give them?
Do it. You
So
just,
simple.
again, if you have that in your thought, if that is coming to you, if that intuition is happening, it is for a reason. It is your universe, your God, your divine, your source, whatever it is that you pray to, it is them sending you that signal to take action. And you only get one life, don't live it in the eyes of somebody else, or how somebody else is telling you, or society is telling you. And if it's a financial thing, there are a million ways to make money. And so don't just rely on it just being the financial piece that's holding you back.
Oh, so good. So good. So everybody, if you have questions really quick, you can pop them in the chat. I'll hang on for an extra minute if anybody does have a question for Rachel. If not, you can always chat it later if you watch the replay and we'll come back and answer. But I just want to remind everybody, if you're looking for additional relationship support, I am part of the Relationship Rehab Summit this week. Doors, however, have closed for the free ticket, but you can get the VIP upgrade for $75 and still get all the content from the week. The speakers from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and my talk on Friday, how to reinvent your relationship from frustrated to fulfilled. And you're going to unlock $6,000 worth of bonuses. So it's a no-brainer. It's $75. I will drop the link below right as soon as we hang up from the broadcast. And I hope to see all of you there, because it's definitely going to be a great step in the right direction to getting your relationship back on board. And then, of course, reach out to Rachel to get hands-on support from the day-to-day.
Thank you so much.
All right. Yeah, of course. It was so great to see you again. Thank you for being here, and keep us posted. I can't wait to see how you continue to reinvent your life.
Thank you so much, Karen. I appreciate it.
Of course, anytime. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.